It's time to drop knowledge. Your Access All Areas panel begins now. Moderated by your AAA resident, Jay McGregor.
Jay McGregor. Give him a round of applause for Jay McGregor, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi everyone, I hope you're well. My name is Jay McGregor and I am your moderator for the panel today. Welcome to AAA Access All Areas. This is a AAA pass to the industry, and we've got a panel that we're having right now where we've got some music industry bosses on stage with me. First of all, I'm just so happy to see your faces and not be off Zoom, guys. We're on live stream! Can you imagine starting a live event during a lockdown? But here we are. So as I said, I'm buzzing to see all of your faces, live performances, a panel going on. This just feels so good. But let me introduce you. So starting from my left to my right, we've got Shauni Caballero, who's the founder and director of the Go-To agency and G293 Publishing. We've got Eve Horn, who is the founder of Peak Music UK. We've got Nisha Sharma, who is a celebrity stylist. You can see by the drip today. We've got Asaka Sheriff, who is the founder and director of Adopted Sound. And we've got Alex Watson, who is director at Squish Media. Thank you all for joining me. You guys are bosses in the music industry, and this is all about women in the music industry, especially sexism and racism, which is something we may have all faced, especially as black women or people of colour and just women in general. Sometimes this cards are already stacked against us. So it's not a thing where we're here today to bash all the men. They might get a little bit of bashing, but it is a conversation and a space where we can open it up and really just invite opinions and perspectives and just think about how we can maybe implement change and better. And having these conversations is a key part of that, because we can all explore and really get into a discussion. And as well, we've got a lovely live audience, just hence on the live, because I can see them, who can also ask questions as well. We'll be doing a Q&A, so if there's anything that is been on your brain, or you might want to ask a specific person on the panel, or just everyone in general, please do put your hands up a little bit later and I'll get round to you. So to start, I thought it would be good to just get a little bit of a background on all of you. So we'll go from this way, start with you, Alex. Can you just give me a summary?
1, 2, can you hear me, guys?
Can you hear? You can hear her?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Alex Watson, and I'm a singer-songwriter, and that's how I started out. I'm also a music manager, so I manage an artist called Roots Maneuver. I also manage a band called Bastido, and I've been in this music game for a long time. And I'm really glad to be here. Yeah, and I started my company in about 2014, which is Squish Media. So I do the management activities, I do consultancy activities, and I do learning and development activities. And I still do singing, I still do songwriting, I still do all of that kind of good stuff. So it's a bit about me.
Thank you.
So my name is Aisata Sheriff. My background is as a rapper from the UK hip hop scene. I now run a company called Adopted Sound, and I lecture part-time at Hertford Uni. I'm part of a few research groups, because research is kind of something I got into a bit later. I'm in a research group with just a few people in the music industry we mainly research kind of hip hop, so there's a rapper Loki in it, got a few music executives. It's kind of a hip hop research group, and we do like deep research about hip hop and black music. So that's kind of my passion. I also do artist development as well. At the minute I do artist development for Rap Game UK, for the contestants and the winners. So I've got my hands in a few pots, and I'm just about to complete an MA, my research in black women in music and inequality. So there's a lot going on, and maybe I'll share a bit more about why I do all of those things.
Don't sound exciting. My name's Nisha. I am a fashion stylist working in music industry, predominantly a little bit of fashion. I started doing a little bit of directing and content creation and stuff for brands and artists. Prior to being a stylist, I did work in music for about 8 to 10 years. Interestingly, I think racism and sexism is what made me leave. So there we are. That's what
Deep.
Oh, you've got your own mic.
You got your own.
Oh, there's feedback. Engineer.
There she goes. Go on, girl. Grab it.
Hi guys, my name is Eve Horn and I am a singer, songwriter, producer and sound engineer. My career started at the Brit School a very long time ago. I was 13, over 3 decades. I am founder of Peak Music UK. I'm also founder of the We Are the Unheard campaign, which is a campaign for the equality of women in the music industry. I do an array of things, like I do so many different things. I'm just about to launch the We Are the Unheard podcast as well, and it's to give people a voice who feel unheard. So I'll be covering everything from women in the industry to depression, anyone who's ever felt unheard in their life or oppressed in any way. I aim to give them a voice, so that's just a few of the things that I do.
Hi everyone, I'm Shauni. I founded the company Go To Agencies. My company, it's royalties consultancy and a publishing company as well. So we sign writers, producers, we do naming rights deals, as well as admin we do it for individuals, but it's mainly management companies, labels, so like everyone you can think of we've sort of worked with. So Mixtape Madness are our clients, even NTS Radio, their label we look after. We're all over the place doing that. And then I've recently launched a joint venture publishing company with Ricky Bloom called G293 Publishing. So we've just brought our brands together. And then I have a management company as well, and we manage instrumentalists, predominantly a few BVs, background and vocalists as well. That's how I mean.
Well, it's evident that these women are doing multiple things, all so sick. You guys have a multitude of experience within the music industry, whether that is publishing, whether that is being an artist, being a consultant, fashion. So you guys are kind of covering all grounds here. Now, today is all about sexism and racism. So I'd like to start by opening up the floor and asking if you personally feel that the industry is institutionally sexist or racist. We're starting with a big question. Love that, straight in.
Yes.
You know, I don't think it's an opinion, I think it's a fact, you know, and I think we've got to look at all of the research and the data. You just have to go to UK&Music, you have to get Women in Control have done a report, even Arts Council have done a report on diversity in the cultural industries, and that springs to, we're talking about race and sex, and without a doubt, every report, their conclusion is that there's institutional sexism and racism, and I think this country, we are always like really behind conversations regarding race. I heard someone on Twitter the other day saying we're like 10 years behind. I don't know what the number is, but I do know that we have quite immature conversations regarding race. And it's put out as an opinion, and I think that sometimes, like even for myself, I think I experienced things as a young artist and I didn't know it was sexism, I didn't know it was racism, but it's only as I've grown and become older and realised, hold on, I grew up in the midst of every one of my friends is like famous or the head of a label, except for the women. Do you know, the black women's very specifically. Do you know what I mean? So then there's something. So I believed we were all on the same playing field. And then you start to, and obviously what's helped me doing this research is just seeing that actually it's not an opinion, it's just factual. Maybe we don't understand it, like I didn't understand it at first, and maybe how we respond to it is a conversation we need to have, but I don't think we need to have I think the question of is there institutional racism just needs to kind of go, and this isn't a pop at you, this is actually just in general, we need to understand it is a fact. Every single report going confirms it. Now let's move on to what are we going to do about it.
Love that, straight in, dropping the gems there. Research queen, so I'm glad we've got that on our side.
She's like, bam.
So now we've identified that that's a fact. It would be great if we could really just delve into any experiences you've had personally and what that looks like, because racism and sexism comes in so many different shapes and figures and ways. It could be something small like a microaggression, or it could be something on a larger scale, especially you, Nisha, who said it's why you left the industry. So I'd be interested to kind of start with you in a bit of your background on that.
Oh my God. Okay, so I do feel there has been some. It feels like there's been some changes. I am probably a lot older than a lot of people here, so. Yeah, not you, but I'm a lot older. So, I'm 46. So in my 20s, I did work in music, and it was a real struggle. Also being Asian, working in black music at that time as well, it was kind of uncommon. Still not that common, but it was really uncommon. And then I even have black people going, "Oh, you're a Paki. What do you know about hip hop?" And they said it in banter, but also you would understand these young people here, their faces. But 20 years ago, 25 years ago, the language used, even the expectations of women and men was really, a lot more stuff was just sliding. You just got to laugh it off, everything's banter. You wouldn't even get up, you'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. And so I did feel that at the time, being Asian, it was really difficult in terms of as well, sort of, the industry is very cliquey as well, sort of fitting into groups or, finding a support group. That was one element. Then number two, of just being a girl, and I used to also be a door girl at guest lists for loads of clubs. And you just get judged for how you dress. Everyone used to be like, oh, you look like you want to be an artist, you look like you want to be an artist. And I was like, well, why? Because I'm a girl and I can dress, you know what I mean? You'd be like, oh, you want to be an artist? They just couldn't, it seemed like everyone couldn't fathom that I could have a brain. I could do anything else other than just, wear nice clothes and stand there and tick your name off. So, they're like, oh, you're just a door girl, you're just a club girl. And at the time, especially I think 20 years ago, you don't, like you said, you're not completely conscious of it. Like a part of your brain's going, oh, is this racist? Is this because I'm a girl? Do they not like me? Is it just my personality? And then you can question loads of things about yourself. And then as the time went on, it was just like, oh, you should change how you dress. You look like you want to be an artist. Oh, you dress too glamorous. Oh, you look like you'd be a distraction to when I was trying to get a job at a label. It's just like, oh, there's always an excuse, and it always related to what my appearance was. And so I feel that if I was a man and I was super fly and I had swag, you'd probably embrace me and be like, oh my God, look at him. But instead it's like, oh, she must just want to sleep with people, or she must be a hoe, or you know what I mean, she's got nothing else going for her other than I've got nice clothes. So and then it went on and on and on, and then also not just that, you get pervy. I mean, I'm not even I've had loads of Harvey Weinstein-esque moments. A lot of, guys who trying to claim they've got power, and they're like, oh, I can help you. You need someone like me that can walk you through the doors of the industry. Oh, we should meet for a drink. And and you know where it's going to go. And then after a while you think, oh, and it just becomes, more and more and more. Even I was on a shoot not even that long ago, and then a guy smacked my ass. And he's like, oh, it was right in front of me, I couldn't resist. And it was a JD Sports shoot. I'm like, I could have just stopped this whole shoot and sued them. But then, my friend organised the shoot, and then you have that whole thing of, if I make a big fuss, then you look like you're troublesome. And then when you're a strong woman, the other problem is, I think everything's really interlinked. So when you're a strong woman and you present yourself strong and you're confident and you dress a certain way and everyone's like, oh, you look flashy, then they don't expect you to have any weakness. So then if you're suddenly the person that's complaining, then it's like, oh, she's difficult, she's a drama queen, oh, she's a diva. So, you're constantly, as a woman, having to just manage so many things, and then you're you're judged for being weak, you're judged for being strong. What way are we supposed to go?
Well, thank you for sharing that. And also, sorry that you experienced that. The fact that you are talking about struggles that you had 20 years ago and then in 2021 still having issues, it's not making sense. But you know what, these conversations and sharing and having these openness, hopefully that the next person that's going on a shoot and that might experience that might have the courage to be able to speak up. And we're going to get into that difficult position of it's your friends and it's the industry. A lot of the industry are friends, and it's like you want to help people out and you're working together. So at what point do you have to draw that line and take the risk of being a diva or stereotypically hard to work with, especially cancel culture and people trying to make sure that they may not work with you ever again, and it can feel like that, especially when you're young and you're new in. So what would be your best advice? Any of yours? Eve, take it.
I would. It's very hard. That's a very hard question. Really, really hard. As you were just saying, the culture of the industry was, and probably still is, if you're an artist, you know, you need to get in the door. And what do you do to get in the door? You go, you network, you show up to the people that you need to talk to, you need to get in there, do you know what I mean? You don't pee anyone off, you don't do all of that, you have to be on your best behaviour at all times, and what you feel as a human being isn't valued, it just goes out the door, as you know, and as a woman, and I've been in situations like that when I was an artist, part of my management team, on tour, in the hotel room, you know, eventually got sacked, I left the group, but it's, at the time you don't realise what is happening, do you know what I mean? You don't, it's very, do you know what I mean? It's really hard to stand up for yourself, because it's very, very real that you will just not get asked back to do anything, and it's your life, and when it's not just a job, it's who you identify as, it's everything that you've wanted, to put yourself in that position and know that it can be gone over, it's a very hard one.
It's very easy to be manipulated.
Yeah.
You know, sorry.
I think it's just very easy to be sort of manipulated. Like I said, you know, the reality is, all right, forget, you know, sexism or racism. I could be on a shoot, I could be ill. Forget even, you know what I mean? I could feel genuinely, I could be vomiting, I could be really ill. So you're like, oh babe, yeah, you're alright. But really, the show, you know, it's that old saying, the show must go on. So no one really cares, like, do you know what I mean? They just want, the shoot's got to get done. Like, whether you're here or not, like, you just got to go on. So even if something happens to you, then you're like, oh my God, this is going to affect everything, and the knock-on effect, and then everyone's going to remember you as the person that messed it up, and then you can feel quite manipulated in those moments not to say much. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember going on stage being full of pills, and I was crippled in pain. Just having to carry on performing, and as women we all know that we go through things monthly, and you know, right now I'm not ashamed to say it, I'm going through my menopause, and it's debilitating at times, but you can't go around saying that to anyone. Oh sorry, I'm having a hot flash, sorry, I can't. Do you know what I mean? And so these are, you know, as women we have loads of other things that come with just being a woman, and then, you know, there's the race on top and all of that other stuff. We were having the conversation just now as well, weren't we? My whole life I felt I've always had to really push extra hard just to be seen, just to be given a chance, or just to be heard. Probably because I'm not the typical type of woman. I'm hip-hop, I'm tomboyish, I'm gay, I'm not the one that everyone's going to want to sleep with. So that's even, you know, if you're not pretty and you're not dressed up in heels and tight clothes in the industry, you've got even more barriers, do you know what I mean? And I've always been myself, and, you know, the minute, I guess, this isn't everyone, so I'm not going to generalise, and I agree with you, it's a discussion we have to have with men, and this isn't about hating men, but the minute they know that you're off the list and they can't sleep with you, that's it. You definitely ain't getting nowhere. You know what I mean? So I've had to work really hard, and it's very hard saying that to people, because they're like, oh, they don't really believe you, and it's like, are you in my shoes? Have you trod my, you know, walked my life? You know, it's a thing. So being a woman, being gay, being of colour, might as well go home. Do you know what I mean?
Hello, yeah. So it's really interesting listening to you guys, and that are coming up now and have come up in the last 5-10 years. They were, no disrespect to them, I still love the music, but as an artist myself, there was things I was not trying not to project. And I just found that if you are a person that's more tomboyish, or you're not trying to have your baps out all the time, or sorry, yeah, you know, people just couldn't compute. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to do this, and it was really, really difficult just to be able to be who you are without being seen as just, as I said, I was told you black women are 2 a penny. Not even 1 a penny. 2 for you for a penny. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's inside a record company. So I've got a video on my Squish Media YouTube, which someone interviewed me years ago, and I said it. One of the reasons why I started managing and doing I came out of music because a lot of us come out of it, or you have to reassess, you have to regroup. And I went into the corporate world, and I did it because my feelings weren't in it so much. When I was doing music and when I was doing my passion, I found that all the knocks hurt that much more because I really cared. So I had to come out of music for a bit just so I could work in another field where I didn't have to take everything so personally, and where I could still learn skills, whether that be, what's going wrong in the music industry, what am I not doing right? So I came out of it so I could be in another environment, still learn how to get my confidence back, which I got my confidence back in another industry, because I found that when I worked in that industry, I moved up. With music, you can go forward, you can go backwards, you can go sideways, you can sit there forever working really hard, and it doesn't seem to be recognised, So I really, when I thought about coming onto this panel, I really wanted it to be a positive experience, because it's like Sutta said, it's very easy to kind of look at all the doom and gloom, look at all the bad things and think, well, how are we going to change it? So it's good to hear the anecdotes, and I've got forgot your name, sorry. Nisha said, I've got stories of, being assaulted, there's so many bad things have happened. And as I got older, I manage an artist called Roots Maneuver now, and I'm over 40. I wasn't expecting at my age to still be facing some of the crap that I faced. Even, when you're younger, you're learning, sometimes your boundaries aren't clear, or you think, and that's another thing I was going to say. I think sometimes as women, we feel that we've done something wrong. You feel, well, I was out there networking, because you're trying to follow your dreams, so you end up at places, or, like for me, not a lot of my friends are in music, so I'd find I'm going to places, I'm going to studios, I'm by myself, or I'm going to a networking event and I'm by myself, So when something happens, you start to think, did I invite that? Was that my fault? So that's a lot of the thing that makes you kind of not speak out sometimes. And like you said, you just don't want the hassle of, you just come out to do a job of work or do something. No one comes out going, oh, let me be assaulted, or let me be abused by this person today. So sometimes you just want to put it in the carpet, forget about it, do you know what I mean? But I think social media has had a big impact on that, because we can have those discussions, have those conversations, but we can still see with things like the R. Kelly and stuff like that, they come out, but people don't want to really go there. It's like we're not ready yet to kind of really, take on board what some of these things that happen are. We're not there yet, do you understand what I'm saying? Especially with black women, for some reason, I can't figure out what it is, why people don't like to listen to us, but it's there, unfortunately, and we see it. Like, we've heard all these stories, but yet nothing seems to have been done about it. Or those people, they're not pariahs. It's still, oh, did she deserve it? Did this happen? Do you understand what I mean? So yeah. We're not given the benefit of the doubt. We're not given that benefit. So unfortunately, as black women, you do have to be really strong. You do have to work on your confidence, and you do have to work on, your inner resources and your inner resolve, and make sure those are built up, because people will try to knock them down. Unfortunately, they just will.
Wow, a lot of powerful words there, thank you. And then, as women, how do you go about protecting your own mental health within the music industry in general? Because, it can be up, down, sideways, forward, backwards, as you said, but just generally, how do you do that for yourself? Or if you've got anything that you would recommend that has worked for you that might be of use to somebody sitting in the audience?
What I would say, I think it's very important to have a life outside the music industry. Like, I meet people in the music industry their entire life, and they're miserable and they're horrible, and they are. Like, I have a great social life, I have a great friendship group, and they're full of non-music industry people. I've got a lot of music industry friends as well, don't get me wrong, but like, I'm very, very close with my family, and that's what I'm about, really. I think it's being able to switch off. I think that's probably one of the most important things, and put your family first, because this industry will eat you up if you're not careful. So that's the best way for me. And I wanted to have a tip for the last question. You said of advice. That was
Yeah.
it. Just don't have it. Like,
Don't have it.
Don't have it. Like, no joke, because you know, it's like, I get it all the time. Like, it's so funny because I had to sort out like a publishing split for one of my instrumentalists and the manager, and it's a really big group, and somebody said, oh, Shauni's going to hit you up, and he said, oh shit, she's coming for me. And I was like, oh no, it was a nice email, but you know, but for the most part, it's like, I've experienced so much, and I don't even want to talk about it too much, because I just don't want to dwell on it. But I've wowed out every single time.
Okay.
Like every single time, like, you know, one of my writers' camps, can you imagine this idiot who had no idea who I was, but I knew who he was because the news manager said, oh, you're so-and-so, an artist, and he was like, wow, I don't even know who you are. I just said, get out. That was it, I just said, get out, get the fuck out. And he's like, oh, like, yo, you can't do it. And they were like, no, this is Shauni's company. Like, yeah, sorry, you gotta go. So I don't have it. Every single time I come across it, I have a zero tolerance for it. You don't get second chances. You just trying to apologise, don't care, get out. Every single time. Because I think when you have it, and like, I understand why people don't speak out, and I know I'm in a fortunate position, so I am speaking from a privileged place, but even when I was coming up, I was the same girl. Like, people knew I don't play games with all that stuff, so don't try it. And if you do try it, you'll regret it. So I think, like, you should never be scared. You should never be scared to speak out. Never be scared, because, like, at the end of the day, you lose one job, there's the next one around the corner. Trust me, it might seem like, and they make you feel like, if I had £1 for every time I was told, oh, well, you're not gonna work in this industry, I'd be a rich girl. I'm still here and I'm thriving. So don't be scared to speak out. Just don't have it. That's what I'd say. Because they need to fix up again.
Thriving, love it. And with speaking out and wilding out when you have, do you think that's contributed to, you know, like an angry black woman rhetoric that we have kind of a lot in this industry, and we face it, or is it at the point where it's just like, do you know what, it is what it is, if that's what you think?
It is what it is, but the white women also wild out too. I've seen it as well. I'm very good friends with this lady Sammy, and she is crazy. Like, she's always popping off. She doesn't get labelled like, oh, the angry white woman or nothing. No, they're like, oh yeah, Sammy, she's feisty. They might call me crazy or angry and black or whatever. I don't care. So what? All right, fine, I am then. Whatever. As long as you don't do that shit around me again. Yeah. So I think don't even worry about playing into those stereotypes, because, you know, then we can label all these men sleazebags or whatever then, if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I think no one should ever worry about the implications, because they just shouldn't be behaving that way anyway.
Yeah. Would you like to add?
Kind of, yeah. Like, just like, I think that's really good advice, because I think that a lot of the time, what we're dealing with is we're not dealing with something that started yesterday or today. This is a historical issue, and like, I don't want to give a history lesson, but this is a legacy. All of this is a legacy of slavery, and I know that you were saying you don't know why, and obviously I know you know why, but it's a thing of there's this the West. Sorry, my bike just keeps bumping. Throwing me off here. Like in the West, like the West is built on, you know, the West's colonization of the rest of the world and patriarchal values, as that means that the top of that chain is the white man, right? And then when African people were enslaved, black men were valued for their strength, and black women were treated eventually like men. They were seen as men. You know, and they weren't valued, and actually, but then as time went on, black men started to work their way up. So what's happening is that there's a kind of a gradation, and actually, if you're a man, then you're falling into the West, the values that say men are more valuable than women. And then obviously, and when you're a woman, even though, you know, we've got the suffragettes who are fighting against sexism, but they weren't fighting for black women. So actually, then you had, you know, black women who are women, but they were also black, so they're like, you know, within the other, black people are called other in the world. We all know that black people or people of colour, right? Anyone who isn't white is other. So black women are the internal other. So we become at the bottom of everything, everyone's consideration. So that that is true for the music industry, for the film industry, for business, and it is consistent. And so I think what we need to understand is this is what happens, and there are stereotypes and characteristics that are put on black women, and that will exist in music, whether you're an artist or whether you are working in business. And so actually understanding, having a little bit of understanding kind of helps, because I was getting really frustrated until I started studying. I was like, oh, well, this is just going in line with patriarchy, and and so actually now, if you want to put all these labels on me, you can do that. I actually don't care. That's your business. And actually, it helps me to challenge things and say, actually, I can see what you're doing. I can see how you're behaving, because when you think about, I can say I've studied women in rap, that's kind of my specialism. We can see that actually what's happened is people don't care about black women and their opinion and what they've got to say, because they always come off the male MCs. You know, people don't want to help black rappers, let's just say that, because that's what I'm studying, because they are not seen as valuable. So they're used as a voice, like you say, to a penny. So actually what I realized, even as an artist, when I was going into the studio, I wasn't being treated as I used to go by the name Tor. I wasn't being treated as Tor, I was being treated just as a black voice, actually. And you know what happens, because of the way that there is structural racism, you end up, the higher you go in the industry, all the studios you go into, they're all white men. Everybody, all the engineers are white, the producers who have had piano lessons since they were young are now producing grime music because they can be in there, they're mixing all the grime records, and you are just seen as a voice. They don't care about what you're saying, what the things you're talking about, as long as you sound good. And so it's actually, for me now, it's a point of me making choices and saying, no, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing this, and if you want to go somewhere else, go somewhere else, but pointing out what they're doing as well. And I mean, I know I'm going on a tangent, but my point is it's historical, it's not new. People have been having this conversation for years. The industry was, the fact that even there was urban is because that label was put into the American industry, so that people could, we could be othered, so black music could be othered, and they didn't want to call it black. So it used to be called race music in the 60s and 70s, you know, it's historical. Even before that, country music is black music, but then they made departments because they wanted to make it commercial. So this is a historical issue, and I think when we realise it's a historical issue, we can stop getting, for our own personal health, not get so angry, because that helped me understanding what was going on. It wasn't just to say, I know and I've read about it, it's to say, oh my gosh, I can calm down. I'm not going nuts. This is happening. This is how, as Shauni said, I'm going to look after myself within it, and these are the steps I'm going to take. But it's understanding the issue first. I hope that made sense.
No, it did. No, big up for the history lesson. And what really resonated with me is the internal other. I've never actually thought of it like that.
It's bell hooks.
But this is like the surface level of some of the incredible research that you do, which I'm definitely going to be coming to find out some more about. But just to know that you're not going mad, and that, you know, this is happening, and it's not the first time, even though sometimes it can feel like it. You know, it's not the first time probably, but it's the first time you might have experienced it, and just knowing that it's not you and that you're not the issue. Now, we've spoken about some experiences, we've spoken about some, you know, looking after yourself and like the kind of historical playing field, but now, what can men do to help amplify women's voices and help advocate for change?
There we go.
There we are.
So I literally completely agree with everything you said. I always complained about being an other every time I have to fill out a form. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it used to really anger me. It doesn't anymore. And the reason it doesn't anymore is because I believe in myself, first and foremost. I know what I'm worth, and which everyone should do. And again, once you do that, you stop worrying about what everyone's putting, like boxes that people are being put in. But I think what we can do to make a change now is, recently for International Women's Day, I ran an event with a white mastering engineer who's responsible for people like Dr. Dre, Eminem, Prince, Michael Jackson.
Amazing.
His name's Steve Bowman. So it was him, Manon Grandjean, she's a female mastering engineer here in the UK, done Stormzy Dave, Piper Payne, Mandy Parnell. And one of the things we were discussing on that day was mental health, and specifically with Steve, was how men, white men in the industry that are massive, how they can be allies to female engineers, sound engineers in the industry, in studio environments, because studio environments can be absolutely awful for everyone involved. And we were saying earlier as well that it's a discussion that has to be had with men. You know, men need to be having a discussion with men, not just women having a discussion with men. So I think we start, first of all, by everyone believing in themselves and standing strong. Not being scared to speak out. Like, that's why I started this campaign as well. I've been through it, I've done it. Now I'm throwing myself, I'm not going to shut up. I'm throwing myself everywhere, I'm being visible. As someone who delivers like music production stuff and techie stuff, if you look online, there's no women doing it. And well, there's like 2 women and they're white. And I'm the only one of colour. 2% Rising, I'm part of that, white women. Women in Control, F-List, all white women. Do you know what I mean?
Structural racism.
That's what I'm saying. That's one of the reasons, and I've tried to connect with a lot of them. She Said So I've tried to connect with, and I'm like, what's going on? Why is that? So again, I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to carry on doing this on my own. I'm not going to shut up. I'm going to push through, and I'm going to keep going, because I'm going to talk to all of the universities and all of the young women who don't know it's a choice. I'm going to tell you it's a choice, and I'm going to be that face, that one, and you're going to be bored of seeing me, and you're going to be bored of seeing this t-shirt, because I'm not going to shut up until I'm in my coffin with this t-shirt on, and I've made change. And the female producers that are at 3% in 2020 are up to 50. Songwriters, female songwriters, 18%. Do you know what I mean? I don't even know what engineers are. And this is just women. This isn't just this isn't women of colour. This isn't women that are mums. This is like, there's so far to go. But we start by having the conversation, not being scared to talk about it, doing it with love and education, and then telling the young women that are coming up that it's a choice. They need to know it's a choice. And I think that's where we start.
When I'm on video sets, for example, and there's like loads of girls, you know, fine, they're half naked or whatever they're doing, but in terms of, you know, it becomes it's quite a difficult question to balance, because on the one hand you'd be like, okay, you know, these women are putting themselves out there and sexualizing themselves, but then equally, I mean, is that empowering, or are you being demeaned? I mean, I don't know, it's grey area. And equally, you know, these women have turned up and they're willing to do this, so are they taking advantage of a situation as men, or, you know, there's a lot of grey areas, but I do think to move forward, it needs to be a we conversation, that's all.
Can I say something? I think I put something on Twitter yesterday which said, women, we've got to fight for ourselves, because if men could change this, they would have changed it. Do you understand what I'm saying? All the decent men would have changed it. Just like the suffragettes, it was a women's organisation, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have men in the room, but I believe that we need to be at the forefront of the battle, and any men that are down are down. But essentially, we cannot wait for them to be part of this conversation or to change things. Yes, do they hold each other accountable? A lot of the time they don't, and I'm not sure why that is, but you get some that do, but I think we're all under the same kind of spell, so to speak. I think we're all, you know, we're all in the same paradigm, and I think sometimes you've got to wait for those scales to fall from your eyes. I talk to the artist I manage, and sometimes I've explained certain, I mean, he's been on the, you know, in the game just as long as I have, but we have conversations sometimes, and I'll be like, do you know what I had to go through in this time? And it's like, until a man can really step into a woman's shoes, or a gay person's shoes, until you can really have that moment where the scales fall away from your eyes and you go, oh my God, I didn't see it like that, I didn't understand it could get like that, then, you know, I think it's great to have men and women and all sorts of people, you know, everybody in this conversation, but ultimately if you're fighting for something, you've got to pick up the baton, and you've got to run for yourself. You can't expect someone else to do it for you.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I agree. And again, I think I want to stress that these conversations need to be had with love and education, like at the forefront, because it's just being bitter and angry about stuff doesn't get anyone anywhere. And you know, like for instance, all these white women that are doing amazing things that I just mentioned, like they're doing fantastic and they're promoting women to an amazing level. It's not their fault that they're the ones that are getting pushed forward. It's the people that are not seeing, like if we take the Cheryl Cole thing that's happening at the moment, right? Yeah, I had to put something on Twitter the other day and I don't even know how to use it properly. But that's how, like, and you can't blame Cheryl. It's not her fault that she loves R&B. Everyone should love R&B. Who wouldn't, right? BBC Sounds, it's their responsibility, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't be angry at all of these women that are doing amazing things to push women forward in the industry, but you've got to look at the people, the board members of these things. Michelle Scoffrey is like one of the only black women in the UK that's a board member, and so it's not the white women that are on the board members, it's not their fault, it's the people that are in control, you know, so...
Saying that though...
Oh, go on, here we go.
Saying that though, with Cheryl Cole, isn't it common sense though? Like, maybe I am not the... No, with her, like, did she not think, maybe I'm not the best person for this job, especially with her history? That's why I'm like, no, Cheryl, you messed up too, because you should have taken this, you know.
But I don't think, like, historically women don't, especially white women, they may not have
she might need the money.
The mindset to think, right, maybe this is not for me. Like, if you look at the documentary that went out on black women in childbirth, eventually, even that was like colorism within our own community as black women. It's even just not recognising when something maybe is not appropriate for you.
Yeah,
What do you think about that?
and another thing as well, because I said this, like, when you do have these organisations or whatever, like, you've got to be about it. So when, and I'm not taking shots at anyone, but when I see these, your whole platform is built off of putting black women or giving them a seat or whatever that thing is, but then you're taking jobs as board members in very big organisations. I'm like, but this is not making sense.
Yeah.
So I think that also doesn't help. You know, because that's when I'm like, so is this just PR? Are you using a black woman's right as PR?
I will say this. Sorry. I will say this. I'm a board member of Moving the Needle, and yes, and one thing that they do, all of the white women on there, when we are trying to get more diverse, because I'm the only one of colour, and we're trying to get way more, every single one of them has said, I will step down. Do you know what I mean? To make it, to make it more diverse, and that, exactly.
But
So,
then, I mean, not to interrupt, but then to me, then should there also be a conversation talking about, you know, more about our own ownership and, you know, creating and owning more of our own sort of, you know, bodies, platforms, and then, you know, because for me personally, there's an element of, you know, seeking validation all the time, like, fuck the BBC, who gives a shit? Like, you know,
I'll say that, but
let's do our own thing. You know what I mean? Why aren't we doing more to create our own and support our own? And it shouldn't, like you said, tokenism. And sometimes it does feel like a lot of these things are token gestures. It looks good for our PR. Like currently, obviously through Black Lives Matter and Black Tuesday and all this stuff that happened, loads of companies were giving it lip service. What have they really done? You know what I mean? Now it's just like, oh, you know what? Like we're, as a stylist, for example, over the years, I can tell you, when I've been reaching out to brands and no, we don't support them, sorry, we don't lend to that kind of artist. But if it's a white artist that raps, they'll send me everything. If there's a white R&B singer, you're supporting it wholeheartedly. But if it's a black girl, oh, she's not light skinned or, you know, fitting their idea of what, you know, is good looking, you know, it's very negative. So, but roll on now, oh shit, we've got to get a black model in there. We've got to get a black face as the front of our... But what does it really mean? They're only doing it because they know it's the cool thing to do. Like,
yeah, but how do you feel about that? Because it's a difference between ticking that box and knowing that you're going to tick that box and thinking, crap, this is an amazing opportunity that I would want to take.
I think ultimately, you know, if someone's getting paid from it, I'm not going to knock them. But at the back of my head, personally and privately, I'm going to think this conversation, you know, again, it's like we should be doing more amongst ourselves and owning more and doing more and pushing each other forward, because I even feel like sometimes, you know, going back to a lot of stuff you're saying about, you know, institutional racism and, you know, sort of controlling of the masses. I'm not going to get into all of it now, but like we could go really deep. But in terms of like, these are all things to appease us. Like, that's how it feels. This is like, oh, let's just give you a black program, stick it on BBC 3. Like, if it does well, we'll put it on BBC 1 late at night. You know what I mean? It's all, you know, we'll just stick something on there. I mean, for me personally, my worst racism and most awful experience of my life was working for the BBC. So, and a lot of people share that story. So I would just say, beyond, yeah, some things are good because it does maybe, I don't know, maybe some white woman in Gloucester, it opened her eyes, but you know, that's not my problem right now. My problem right now is like my life and what we're doing. So I do feel that an ownership conversation actually genuinely supporting each other more and supporting each other's businesses more. But obviously, I mean, I've only just met Shauni today, but I follow her. But just, you know, what she's doing, her own publishing company, that's amazing. You know what I mean? And she's like really pushing, you know, hopefully, and educating and helping young artists understand how they can make money, how to get their money. Because you look at a channel like, you hear about Grime Daily, so you'll put your video on Grime Daily, you've got to pay to put it on there, not to diss Grime Daily, but so when they're getting 10 million views, I don't know, you might know, do they ever share that money or are they keeping all the money?
Would you get a nice little plaque?
Does it depend on the artist?
They'll get money because of YouTube, but you do get paid performance royalties.
Yeah, but ultimately, what I'm saying, I don't know, again, is that really a system that's helping a young new artist to reinvest in himself?
So the conversation is between ownership and it's between knowing that you're the stereotype and that you're ticking that box and still having to go for it anyway or not.
Sorry, can I add to that?
Oh, of course.
Because I agree with you to an extent, but I feel like there is an industry, right? There is an industry that people are making money, and it ultimately is making money off the aesthetic of black people. Actually, black people have been doing DIY from the beginning because they've never been allowed in the industry. Hip hop is a thing in the industry, and urban music, what they are now renamed finally to black music, because actually majors wanted a part of this thing that was going on in the street. DIY, hip hop was DIY. Hip hop, the labels bought Def Jam and Rockefeller and all that stuff.
Lost the control.
But very early on, that's historic. So I think that there needs to be work where people are doing stuff on their own, but people are doing stuff on their own. But there is money that is being made off of black music, and it's not going to black people actually. So there do need to be black people within those circles making changes. Now I know that it's quite difficult now because I feel like you're going to be overpowered, so maybe there's a lot of people now who are mainly surrounded by, you know, white people and are influenced or are trying to fit in or all this other stuff, you know, and I'm not speaking about anyone specifically, but I do believe that if you think about all these 400 years of slavery and everything black people have been through, and obviously there's colonialism that went on in India, what black people have done is amazing. Actually, what we've achieved, how we've influenced culture worldwide, and literally music is black music, rock, house, anything, reggae, anything, funk, disco, techno, everything. And actually we're not getting the money for it, so actually we need to be in those positions. I'm not saying we need to be the head of labels. I'm not actually advocating for capitalism. I'm just saying actually there's unfair things happening, and actually they need to be pointed out, because actually black people have been mobilizing for years, and that's how the black industry was made. And in terms of well, I know there was a question earlier about how do we move forward. I feel like, men should be involved, but not like it's how they're involved. We need to think about that, because at the end of the day, we know that with patriarchy and how things work, if a man's on this stage, he'll probably be talking more than all of us, even though it's about our business. And it's just because of the way that we've been programmed. Same thing about tech, women tend to not get involved in tech. I always wanted to get involved. I'm a producer now, but it took me a long time because we're not encouraged to do that. So it's a sexism thing as well. You go in school, the boys are encouraged to produce. They're encouraged to do all those things. So we're fighting like quite a lot of battles. So I am not about, let's just all women, because men need to know, but there need to be spaces for women to speak about their experiences, to grow and actually repair a lot of the damage that's done. So there need to be studios where it's all run by women and all women can go in there, because you'll have one man in there telling you what to do. I know, because I'm going to do my DJ sets and people are telling me what to do. I learned to produce because I know what I'm doing in the studio, and the producer's telling me, you can't do that, it's not possible. Do you know what I'm saying? So I had to learn. So I feel like there needs to be spaces for women only, not because we're men haters, but we need to be able to and have the freedom to discuss the things we've been through, and men need to listen, because in some of the research I've done with, like, say, specifically, I'll just go on what I've been doing, like all the books I read on black music, right, were written by mainly white men or white women. So you're looking at all the books on grime, Dan Hancock, Hattie Collins, all these people who I know and I don't hate, but actually how can any of them talk about my experience with intersectionality and colorism and all those things? They're not, because it's not on their radar and it's uncomfortable. So we need a stage to speak, we need places that we can be ourselves, and people need to listen. And actually research needs to be integrated into these conversations, because I feel like there's so much hearsay, and I understand there needs to be a space for people to just talk about their experience, and it doesn't need to be theoreticized, because it doesn't need it. But it is a historical issue, and trying to address it without, I feel like a lot of organisations are now just dumping black people on stage and saying, all right, what should we do? And they don't know, they're just experiencing it.
Yeah.
So we need to, and there are people, there's work on intersectionality, there's work being done. So bring that work in to people with the music industry and start thinking of solutions, rather than us just scratching our heads going, what should we do? Like, there's research, do you know what I mean?
I don't buy into the idea, and like, this is controversial, but I don't like the idea of anything being just all women. Like, even on this panel, I do think there should have been men on here, because it should have been a over-discussed discussion, and if the man is talking too much,
Shut them up.
Yeah, so
relax.
I think we have to be very conscious of being, this constant dividing. Like,
and why I say it a lot, because when I look at my career, it's men that have changed my career for the better. Like, when I met Kwame Quatten, I say he changed my life. Ricky offered me the best deal out of all of them. What all the majors and everyone were offering me, Becky Blue.
Me too.
Me too. So I think it's for men just to support, empower us.
Absolutely.
I think definitely for studios, because there was a point in my career I did not go to studios. It was gross. So I do think that makes sense, but at the same time, like, the men, unfortunately, are the ones who are the big dogs in the industry, and we have to work with them. But for the most part, I enjoy working with a lot of them. It's just setting boundaries.
That's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying men shouldn't be involved. I'm saying, how are they involved?
Give me an example.
One tiny thing. Sorry, I know it's this thing about men. I think it's really, really important, because, like, if you think about most of the people that have done certain things for me, it's probably been white men who have used their position. Actually, my black friends who I know haven't done very much for me, because they're making it in the rap race themselves. But we got to see there is a structural racism that we're all fighting against. And so I don't say men shouldn't be involved, but actually they should be involved in specific arenas. So they need to be like Women Own Studio. They need to be times where they're just listening to women and responding. But actually, when someone was saying about, it's not their fault, but actually I know I've been around white women and white men who actually, they don't want to let go of their power. They understand what's happened and they tell me sorry, but actually they are used to being thought of as better than me as a black woman. So actually there has to be a point where actually, people start stepping aside and start owning up to the things that the privilege that they have in their life. Obviously it's a very overused word, so I try not to use it, but then also, like, for me, actually, as a black woman, let me get angry, because you know what, the whole world is against me. So I'm not policing my response, and I'm not saying I'm going to start smashing people's heads in and fighting everyone. I'm just saying, actually, no one else gets policed, so don't police me. Let me have my response, and this is what it is. And actually, I'm very real with it. I don't feel like, why should black women be policed and be called angry black female, so we have to be the obedient Negro? Like, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it that.
There's been a lot of interesting things being said, and I would say that, you know, I've had situations where I've become angry in situations because I'm like, mate, you cannot do that, and then you have to get angry because someone's made you angry, you know. And then I found, as a black woman, it's like people can't deal with it, you know. They're like, oh my god. I mean, I've been in a situation with, I've nothing against men, you know, great, but I've been in a situation where I'm the woman, and there's these horrible men getting on my wick and doing really inappropriate things or speaking inappropriately to me, and everybody just sits there. Everybody's just sat there, and I'm like, is anybody gonna? And then if I have gone ham, if I have gone a bit mad, I'm the one that I've been thrown out of places, I've been thrown off a plane, and I'm like, why am I that? Yeah, I got thrown off. I was like, why am I getting thrown off when these guys are sitting there and they're the ones that did this to me? But yeah, people just, that's why I say I can't work it out, because I do know historically this industry has, there's a lot of money to be made in this industry, and there's a lot of money that gets made that falls through the cracks as well. It's like crack money, not crack money, but through the cracks money, and especially historically. It's a lot better now, but even in this last couple of years since George Floyd, I've become incensed quite a lot of times because I'm just seeing a lot of performance. I'm seeing a lot of people out there supporting women, supporting black people, and I'm like, nah, I know you. I know you, and I know that you don't. So this is just all because of the...
Keep pushing. We've got to keep pushing
through
that and carrying on, you know?
Yeah, we do have to. So what I will say is, you know, this industry, it's. So I think earlier on someone was saying about an institution. A bank is an institution. Some of these companies, old companies, are institutions, but music has been very, very fluid. There has been no central body. Even some of the organisations we've talked about, I mean, there's so many, and there seems to be more every day. It's proliferated. There isn't anything centralised. There isn't somebody you can go to. So when I had nearly 100 grand stolen of me, I think what Rebecca Ferguson talked about that a couple of weeks ago, I had the same thing happen to me. I went to the police. There was literally nowhere for me to go, so I had to just take the losses. I had to take everything that happened to me. There was literally nowhere for me to go with it. And even when I've called the police and said, listen to this, I've had my life threatened by a person, the police go, well, there's nothing we can do until you're dead. There's nothing that we can do. So this is what I'm saying, you know, it can get very, very deep, you know. And I can say that, you know, in terms of women, we do have to stick together. We do have to support one another. I'm very, very big on supporting other women. And I think sometimes it seems like there is not enough space, so women are not necessarily supporting other as much as they can. But I'm always trying to, you know, share other women, support other women as much as I can give. I've got to give to myself first, obviously, because then I won't have anything to give. But this industry has historically, when I used to walk into the labels, you know, 30 years ago or whatever, I mean, I got record deals, I did, especially when you're young and they think that, you know, oh, you're young, you've got a little bit of a backside, or we think you're art, and you're like, no, I'm not that, hang on, can I be me? No, you can't, we don't really care who you are. And I saw a lot of that, and then you would walk into companies, there would be all white people, mostly men, but there is women. So as much as I think we give in, we're saying, I think a lot of white women are part of this problem, or historically they've been to me part of the problem, and I don't see where they've really been supporting me or helping me when they could at any time, you know. So, and even with a lot of these organisations we're seeing now, some of the people that are behind them, I'm sitting there going, wow, Sometimes I don't like to say, because we don't seem to like to name names, but I'm seeing certain things right now, and I'm like, nah, this is an elaborate ruse, is what I'm seeing. You know, this is some smoke and mirrors, and this is some psyops business. Because at the end of the day, there is a lot of money to be made in music, and we're all in here because we want to be creative, and really, ideally, we'd like every hour we put in to bring us some pennies back. It doesn't always go like that, so you have to end up figuring a lot of stuff out, and as a black woman, there's nobody there rolling out the carpet saying, here, let me show you how to figure it out. They will see you drowning and go, is she gonna drown? Oh, she drowned. Oh no, she didn't drown. So you have to become really tough, and I hope it change. You know, I think it's changing, but I'm still seeing a lot of performance nonsense out there, and people supporting people who I'm like, nah, this is a joke. this is getting on my nerves actually.
Yeah, I think we all feel that. But
It's a collective feeling. We've got a Q&A coming in a couple of minutes. If you have any questions for the panel, please do have them at the ready before we get into DJ Longer's and our performances. But before we do, I've got another question for you.
I just have a quick thing to say
Oh,
about money falling through the cracks.
The crack money, yeah?
It's a shameless plug, because I have a book coming, a quick guide to music royalty. But also, and the thing is about that, like, just to veer off, but we have to educate each other.
Yeah.
And like I always, like I've lectured, that's how I know through Hertfordshire Uni, so I guest lecture at a lot of unis everywhere, and I say, and everyone's grateful, everyone's thankful. Even when we do our writers camps, I stop the camp halfway through when everyone showed up, and I do a presentation, and I'll teach everyone about like how to make money out of their music and to make sure they're monetizing it, because you know, 2 billion a year goes royalties goes uncollected. You know, it's a joke.
So much money.
Why?
Yeah. So what I say to everyone is like, as a thank you, please share this knowledge. Every time I sit with everyone and talk to them about royalties and publishing, or they hit me up in my DMs, I say, please make sure you're telling your friends. So yeah, when you guys do buy the book, hopefully you all do, please share it. Yeah, and please share the knowledge as well.
Thank you. Alright, I've got to get into the Q&A. So has anybody got any questions for our panel? Let's start with you.
My question's going to land, but just a bit back context. It's for anyone really, but I just finished doing my dissertation for my master's, and I've ended up doing it on female producers in the R&B scene. And I remember talking to my supervisor, and she was like, "Oh, but you need to bring something to the conversation of female producers that hasn't been said." But I kept on saying to her, I'm seeing loads of research on white females in techno, white females in rock music. There's nothing about, not even white necessarily, there's nothing about urban culture of female producers. So when I did do my research and I looked into it, just that basically there are, I'm not saying there isn't any, it's just mainly black females are in the limelight of being an artist or a songwriter. Do we need to take accountability and start saying, okay, well, if I'm going to the studio and I'm not seeing people like me in the seat as a black woman, do we need to take accountability as females to encourage more women to be in all positions of that? I'm just asking, yeah.
I mean, other people can answer it. I'll say this is a historical issue. I'm sure you've seen in your research that actually women are not encouraged to do tech. We're not, whether it's computers, whether it's whether it's nothing to do with music. It's just women are not encouraged to do anything with tech, and so women are not within music. Women are not pushed towards doing music. So I guess the first half of what you're saying is, do we need to take accountability? But I think that because to put the pressure on women is unfair, because we're always told, yes, a part of it is, yeah, I'm going to get up, I'm going to produce. But actually, if you're a 15-year-old girl or a 13-year-old girl walking into a studio dominated by loads of guys, and I know this happened to me. I used to walk into the youth club and I wanted to produce, and I'd ask people, oh, can you help me? And they'd be condescending answers. I paid someone £100. I got my friends Fruity Loops, and I said, right, come to my house and teach me how to use it. In the end, I had to teach myself. So I think that I was somebody who tried to learn, but actually all the barriers that I faced, I'm a producer now, but I'm playing catch up. So, I'm somebody who took accountability. I wanted to do it. So I think that if we ignore systematic pressures and put the onus on the person that's being oppressed. That's what happens. We don't like it when people, with black people, when we say, well, black people just need to pull themselves up. And actually there's this whole system oppressing black people. So I just think that we need to look at the systemic reasons as to why women are not in tech. And obviously we know that black women are the internal other. So there's very much a reason why there are less black women. But actually there are a lot of black producers that don't get the shine. Black women who produce who don't get the shine. And if you don't see yourself, then you don't end up doing it. So I think the systemic reasons that hold women back, and education, within educational institutions, within music college, within society, then those things need to be worked on. That is why I say there need to be programs by PRS and all these places where there are places for women working on what they're doing, not to exclude men, but to say there's a deficit and this has happened systemically. Now we need to work and encourage women. What is going to discourage a girl from going into a studio? Because they will feel embarrassed if they can't do it, and there's loads of boys who are taking over. So we're going to say there's no boys in here and it's all women. Do you know what I'm saying? So and building up a culture. So that's my thing. I don't think you should blame the person being oppressed. I think it's a bigger problem.
I agree. Can I add to that? That brilliant answer. Sorry. I, as someone who is a producer, and I studied sound engineering years ago, as only one of 6 women in the whole year, only one of colour. It's really important that someone like yourself, I don't think you should take onus of everything, but what you should do is love what you're doing, embrace it, and shout it from the rooftops. Everyone who does it should do it in that way. I don't think you should put pressure on yourself, like she was saying, to feel like it's your job to make sure other people, see that you want to be a producer. I'm really passionate about making sure young women see it's a choice. I work with University of Westminster. We do a lot of stuff for women and non-binary when it comes to production and songwriting, and they're even like it's down to campuses changing their what they call them things that they the things that they send out to people to join. Yeah, the prospectuses. I came out there, I was like, why is there only white men behind this desk on this picture? And they're like, it's changing. And I said, this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. How are women going to know it's a choice if they if they walk past, get a prospectus and there's a white man behind the desk? So it's about action. It's about taking action, and I really am passionate about that. And it's something that I think, from an education point of view, we need to see that change. It needs to be a choice. I agree. I do a lot of female-focused production stuff. I'm a native instruments certified specialist as well, so I do a lot of stuff with Machina and a lot of tech stuff. It's vital that we do a lot of female-based stuff, and especially R&B. And women in techno, oh my God. I love my 90s R&B, and I'm like, yeah, I want to do it, and they're like, yeah, but it's a bit dated. I'm like, well, it's not, and if you're not doing what someone wants you to do, you're seen to stick to what you love. Don't worry about it. Do it good, and just let it shine.
Thank you. Next question.
I was just going to add on.
Sorry, wait, can you come up here and talk? Because what we don't have is a cordless mic. So this side.
Yeah, that's right. Cool. Sorry, no, I was just going to say, just to add on to that, and just so people are aware, there is a place called The Halley, which is owned by AEI, who run Drum and Bass Arena, UKF. It's based in Haggerston. They have studios and they have a DJ set-up booth, as well as it being a workspace, but it just so happens that everybody involved in running it is female. So the head of studio is female, the head of the space is female. So from that point of view, it wasn't created to be a female space, but as females, to know that it is a female-friendly space is a useful thing to know. And it's been where I've sent some of the female artists that I work with. So you can sign up for on a monthly rate to get access to the studios. And they're a really, really great place. As a business, they are very much trying to actively encourage diversity and inclusion. So I would say genuinely, as a place that I've seen do it well, they're a good place to look at. They're in Haggerston, which is just above Shoreditch, and not very far off the overground line. So if anybody would like to know any details for them, I'd be happy to pass up.
What are they called again?
The Halley.
Thanks for sharing that, Wiz. The
Halley.
Halley. If you never want to know more information, definitely help Wisdom. But another question over here is going to be our last one before we hand back to DJ Longers. Do you want to come in and get the mic so we can hear you a bit louder?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm a rapper. I just wanted to know, because I know that a few members of the panel spoke about being an artist in the industry, why you stopped? Because you're now doing other things in the music industry, but obviously not performing or being an artist anymore.
It could be personal choice, it could be career progression, it could be money. However comfortable you guys feel delving into it.
I basically I was signed to Polydor and then EMI in the 90s, and then I had to come back to the UK and got depression. So that's why I stopped. I got depression, I had to get back into normal life. I was in a group, girl group. Pop. The first one was funk, rock, R&B, with a live band, everything. I'm not saying it. The second one was pop R&B. Really massive difference. Like, I went from being like really expressive to really like nails done, lipstick. It was so not me. The second one was. But I conformed like you do. Back in the day, I wouldn't do it now. But yeah, it just, I still actually perform stuff from 20 years ago. COVID stopped it, but yeah, we still sometimes perform our stuff.
With the group, together.
Yeah, only two of us got back together, but I did, like, in 2018 was the first time I've been on stage in 18 years in front of 16,000 people. It was literally like being home. Like, I would perform every day, but I don't like being an artist, if that makes sense. I don't like the rest of the on stage, home. Yeah, but I just think the production side of it, I get to be more creative. But I would, if I could produce my own stuff, perform it, and not have to deal with the pressures of being an artist, I'd do it all day long.
I still sing, I still write. I don't do it as much because I find I don't have time. I'm busy doing management stuff and trying to figure out next moves and stuff like that. But I still do a lot of backing vocals on reggae music and stuff like that. And I still sing, I still write, still got a band. So I still do it, but I still do management as well. And I think as a woman, especially as a black woman, a lot of times you have to do what you have to do. I think it was Paulette Long who said once, sometimes we're not always out front because there's too many other things to do, and there's no one to do it. So that kind of makes me perform less, and obviously there was COVID and stuff like that. But it's just to be in the industry, to be doing new things, to be doing new projects. If you sing and you write, it's not something that really stops. You can always sing, you can always write, but sometimes you have to take a step back because other things get in the way. But if you're a rapper, but you decided that you want to produce or you want to do some other things, it's all music and it's all part and parcel of the same thing. So I think you could just go for what you want, go for what you enjoy, and just as Shauni was saying, look at the business or find out about it, because it's very easy to kind of let those things slide.
Of course.
Cool. Why did you I just want to know why you asked the question, just so I can answer it better.
Because I don't know if I'm speaking for all artists, but we came here as artists to perform, and obviously getting the knowledge from you guys. It seemed like did something make you fall out of love with being an artist?
Right, I understand. Well, the way I would answer that was, so I was signed to Universal for a while, and I never stopped. I think I was signed to a branch of Universal, and that label, and then Gobi, they went bankrupt, which is fine, and then the MD just went to Polydor or whatever. I think at the time I was just like, I didn't really care. I came from pirate radio. I knew everybody who I needed to know. I was quite naive, I would say, and I started my own record label, and it did pretty well. Ended up touring in Japan and doing a load of stuff. So I was quite naive. I'm leading up to where I'm going. Is that I started to realise the barriers as a black rapper, as a black woman, that I was facing because I was in Grime Central. I was around everybody that I needed to know. I didn't realise that things would be different for me because I was around a lot of males as well. And so I think for me, I had to get into education. So I mean, I'm a qualified teacher and obviously I lecture now, but that was almost a necessity to support my music. And I found within my research, all the rappers and grab MCs that were women, that they all had to do music workshops or teach. And so like, I would say learn about as much as a business as you can, and because money doesn't come just from music. Do you know what I mean? It comes from other streams. Most people end up starting their business because they're trying to make money. So I would just say, like, learn the business as much as you can. Get Shaudi's book and learn the ways that you can earn money. And I don't think you should be discouraged that we're all doing other things. I think for me personally, I was quite naive because I was around everyone that was becoming famous, and I had signed a record deal while I was still in college. I didn't know my barriers, so the reason I am so passionate today is you need to know the barriers that are there so that then you can work out how to get around them. That was what I say.
I agree. I think my mistake that I made was I was an all-encompassed artist. I didn't know anything else other than being an artist. It was my life. It's all I wanted, to get up on stage and perform. And it was only during that I used to look at the buttons on the desk and be like, what do they do? What do they do? But that's the mistake I made. And Shauni's point earlier was exactly that. Don't allow it to be everything. Yeah. I made that mistake, and it led to depression. It led to a very long journey getting back to know myself and reconnect with who I was and realise I was way more than just an artist. Yeah, so, 100%.
A massive round of applause for all of our panellists. Thank you all so much for sharing your stories, your experiences, your parts in the industry, and just proving how amazing you all are. You all do so many things. I don't know how many, there's so many hours in the day for what all you guys do. Can we please just go around and drop your socials and how people can get in contact with you and just keep up to what you're doing?
So it's just my name, Shauni Caballero, on all socials.
That's quick. I'm Eve_Horn on Insta. We are the Unheard and Peak Music UK.
It's just Nisha Badass.
Love that.
On Insta and Twitter. Nothing else. It's not a massive social media person, but yeah.
I'm Isata, so that. And Sheriff. So the last part is, instead of Cisse, is Sheriff, which is my middle name. Right, so Isata Sheriff on everything. Double F, the normal way you spell Sheriff. Bing, bing.
I'm at Squish Media, or at Songbird with a 0 and a 1 and not an O and an I. So Songbird, at Songbird, or at Squish Media. And I'm on Instagram and at Songbirds World. And Squish Media's got a website. Bastido Rock's got a website. So I'm about in different places. I've got business cards if anyone wants to get one from me and talk to me about anything or email me for something.
And definitely do. I'd recommend that. Oh, go on.
Sorry, can we just give it up for our female sound engineer that's in the room today as well? Yes, rapping. Sorry, had to do that.
No, we love that. A massive big up to all of the AAA team so far. I've been Jane McGregor, your host. I am the moderator of the panel. You can also find me at Reprezent Radio, at Kiss FM. There's lots of stuff. I'm rescuing for the producers out there as well and the presenters. So it's been so lovely to see you all in the flesh. But don't worry, we've got a lot in store. We've got more performances to come, and we've got DJ Longers, who I'm handing back to with the vibes. Thank you very much. Please give it up.
DJ Longers, your resident host and